Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, and iTunes #1 kids and family podcast here in the States. And speaking of being here in the States, Election Day is right around the corner here in the United States, so we have a very special guest. One of the top names in magic. Her name is Lyn Dillies. She's here to talk to us about her great Learn Magic with Lyn DVD and also talk about her fantastic book, Your Vote is Magic. You know, since we have one of my favorite magicians in the world on the show today, I thought it would be appropriate for me to tell you about my brand new magical school assembly called Reading Matters. Reading Matters. In this show, I use storytelling, magic, illusions to teach students the benefits of reading aloud to themselves and to others, and also the benefits to visualize the text that they were reading vibrantly. Numerous studies have shown that these strategies improve emotional intelligence, increase empathy, sharpen focus, increase vocabulary, and improves comprehension. And with all of those things, you gotta believe that test scores are gonna go up too. You know, during the show, we're gonna challenge students to read aloud with somebody else at least 20 minutes a day. Now, hopefully, your kids are gonna want to read to you, but, you know, you may be busy, you may be doing something else, or maybe your child is a little bit nervous reading aloud and they're kind of self-conscious. Well, here's a great idea. Encourage your kid to read to the dog or the cat or to a stuffed animal. It sounds crazy, but it really does help. It really helps improve their reading. It helps improve their self-confidence. So check it out. I would love for you to go and find out more about the school assembly program and then take that information to the folks at your kid's school, the principal, the librarian, the guidance counselor, the head of the PTA or PTO or home and school, whatever they call it at your school. It's a really fun show, and I'm confident it's going to make a big difference in the lives of lots of kids. The name of the show again is Reading Matters. You can find out all about it at our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Reading Matters page. Joining us right now from one of my favorite places of the world, the south coast of Massachusetts, Westport to be specific. She is an incredible illusionist. Truly, truly incredible. And she's a friend. Please welcome to the show, Lyn Dillies. Lyn, how are you?
I am doing great, Jed. How are you?
I'm so excited that you're here. We're going to be talking to Lyn about two amazing projects that she has. One is a DVD called Learn Magic with Lyn, which is an absolute wonderful, wonderful resource for any family with a kid who is fascinated by magic. And that includes, like, I'd say 90% of the kids out there or the families out there at one point or another. And also a book that is very, very topical right now, Your Vote is Magic. And there's a great subtitle. Tell us the subtitle.
How a donkey, an elephant, and an illusionist are making voters appear.
So I'm so excited. Why don't we start with Your Vote is Magic? Because I think that this, I don't think it was a book that was written for kids, but I think this is a great book that families can co-read with their high school kids to help them understand the importance of their participation.
Exactly. Yes, the backstory on Your Vote is Magic is something that happened in 2008. You know, my magic is very dear to my heart, and I knew that at some point in my career, I wanted my magic to serve a greater purpose off stage to make a difference in people's lives. And in 2005, I had lost my dad, my hero, my right arm, to cancer. And my dad loved voting, and he taught me a lot about the importance of voting. He was very politically active, ran a lot of campaigns, etc. And when I lost my dad and knew that the presidential election was gearing up for '08, and it was going to be a doozy between the late Senator John McCain and Senator Barack Obama, I thought of my father and the impact that he had on me, and I had a brainstorm of a massive, spectacular illusion that I could do that would deliver basically a visual message about the importance of voting. So I finally put it together. It took about a year to engineer and everything involved with it. It was the culmination of a public service campaign that I started, complete with radio, print, and TV ads that hit the whole south coast of Massachusetts to drive home that message to folks about voting. So we had a voter rally down in New Bedford at the Buttonwood Park Zoo, and in front of a live audience of 1,000 people, I produced out of thin air the two live mascots, a donkey and an elephant. And as the animals were appearing, that's when I delivered my message that you don't have to be a magician to create change. No matter who you choose, your vote is magic. That's truly what my dad believed. The contraption with the curtains and everything just came down to the ground, and boom, there were the two live mascots. And it blew everybody away. And that paved the way for my message to continue. I ended up writing this book to talk about my inspiration for my initiative, the motivation behind it, the journey, and also it includes an overview of voting history. And now I've taken all of that, and I'm going into high schools with a PowerPoint presentation that combines my magic with it, that is strategically woven into the program, and it covers all the bullet points of voting history, why we need to vote, which that's all outlaid in the book. And it's really fascinating. It goes into the women's suffrage movement, the origins of the mascots, the impact that voting will have on their lives, and that every vote really does matter. And it illustrates examples of that through voting history.
I want to touch on that a little bit more, because I really think that's important for us as parents and as caregivers to really get across to kids. So many times here in Massachusetts, which typically it votes in the same ways, a lot of people will sit down and go, well, it doesn't matter if I vote. Tell us why it does matter for everybody to vote.
Well, the thing is, it matters because it's a barometer to see how people feel about different issues and the candidates. It comes down to, as an example, and I include this in the book and in my PowerPoint presentation, my dad was involved with the campaign with Mike Rodricks running for state representative, and it was a really tight race, and they had to have a recount. My father stood by watching every vote be counted, and Mike Rodricks won by 7 votes. So every vote mattered that day. Now he's a state senator, and there are countless other examples through history of close elections like that. And, I did a lot of questioning to do some homework for Your Vote is Magic. I talked to a lot of folks to see about how they felt about voting, and people were genuinely concerned about their one little vote. Does it really, really matter? Well, it does, because the election results, as I said, they really are a barometer to see how we feel about all these different issues. If you voted for a candidate who didn't get elected, well, at least it lets the candidate know, if people like their message or not. And many times, if they had a lot of support, they'll regroup and run again for a different office. And not every elected official has won every election that they've ever campaigned in. For example, Abraham Lincoln didn't, President Barack Obama didn't, or President Bill Clinton, as an example. And it's also wonderful for the elected officials who are running for re-election, the incumbents out there, because if, say, it's a close election, it lets them know that about half the voters didn't approve of their job performance. And if they don't do a better job, they may not get reelected again. And, really, it's not the most perfect voting system in the world, Jed, but it's pretty good. And if we didn't vote, what kind of world would we be living in? We wouldn't have the democracy that we do. And, then I tell kids, too, that if they went into the voting booth and didn't do their homework and felt that, I need to vote because, my grandfather said just go and vote. But they didn't do their their homework about the candidates, and they got into the voting booth, and they said, oh, gosh, I think I'll vote for so-and-so because, well, my grandmother said that's who I should vote for. Mm-hmm. That would be a wasted vote. You wouldn't be voting with your conscience. And the only way that our whole voting system works is to be an educated, informed voter. You have to do your homework. You have to get to know the candidates, their issues. Mm-hmm. You know, if they were to get elected, the impact that it would have on your life and your family's life, you know. And I tell these kids that they have a really, really important voice, that they can make a huge difference out there, especially with the younger voters. I mean, they can swing an election. Mm-hmm. And it's exciting to, you know, comprehend that with your vote, the power of your vote, that you can help steer the course of our country's future, mm-hmm. you know, and that their vote will matter as much as someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, you know. Mm-hmm. And voting ballot doesn't know the difference whether you're poverty-stricken or a billionaire, no matter what your ethnic background is, you know. Everybody's on an even playing field when they go into the voting booth.
Absolutely. And I think this is a great message to start sharing with our kids when they're young. And, you know, one of the things that I did was I took my kids in to vote with me, you know, and just to let them see that this is what we're doing. This is, and I know some places wouldn't let that happen, but just to let the kids know that I care enough, your mom cares enough to come down here and be part of the community, to let them know that we care. And I think it also empowers kids, that knowledge. They might not have the vote right now when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, but one day they will have, and it just prepares them for that moment.
Absolutely. You're setting a great example, and more families really need to do that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we want to absolutely talk about Learn Magic with Lyn, because Lyn really is right up there in the top echelon of magicians all over the world. That elephant that she talked about making magically appear down in Buttonwood Zoo, I know that elephant. I walked alongside that elephant. That's a big elephant. We're not talking about a picture or a little stuffed animal. That's an elephant. And
yes, 8,000 pounds of elephant,
yes,
Jed.
Yes. That elephant walked beside me as I was going in to bring my equipment in to do a show, and she how an 8,000-pound elephant sneaks up behind you, I don't know, but she did, and scared the life out of me.
She's very good at that.
I tell you. And Lyn has performed. One of the things about Lyn, too, is she's performed with symphony orchestras all over the world. And so tell us a little bit about your journey, and tell us about Learn Magic with Lyn.
Well, Learn Magic with Lyn came about, Jed, because, you know, when I do my public performances and do a meet and greet following the show, I started out selling magic kits that were quite generic, to be honest with you, and I was not happy with the quality of the tricks in these kits. Mm-hmm. It turned out that it's sort of the way it is with many of these kits, unfortunately. It's not that the tricks themselves are bad, but the directions were very poorly written. Mm-hmm. And I thought of myself starting in magic, you know, the excitement, you know, when you open up a new magic trick, and it can become very frustrated if you just can't figure out how to do it. Mm-hmm. I said there has to be something better. So I came up with the concept of putting this DVD together that had a 3-camera shoot with it, and even an overhead view of everything involved with learning how to do a magic trick. I demonstrate the trick first, and then I show them how it works. And then I go step by step through how to make these tricks. They're all, done with using everyday household objects, which is really great for families, you know, and it can be a good project for a family as well. So it takes them step by step, and then, I just, really demo it right from start to finish and show them all of the downfalls of how to do it, what things to avoid, the responsibility involved, keeping a secret. So it's also empowering as well. Mm-hmm. I remember when I started out in magic, how wonderful it was for me to just have this great thing like magic make my shyness disappear, because I was extremely shy growing up, you know, so it has that element to it too. There are actual kids involved in the DVD learning how to do the tricks right near me, and you know, it's really nice, and it's received a lot of awards, the Parents' Choice Award, the Dove Foundation Film Advisory Board, and the iParenting Media Award as well.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about it is that you know, magic it's a wonderful, wonderful art, and it's a great hobby, and it's a great thing for kids. But I think a lot of kids well, it used to be they go to the magic shop to buy a trick. Now they go online to buy a trick, and those magic tricks are really can be very, very expensive. But if you're making a trick at home, what a great family activity. And it really does make you a better magician, I think, because you're starting to really understand the mechanics and what this thing is that you're using.
Exactly. Yes. You know, and as I explained, I also tell them, you know, things to avoid when they're doing a trick. And you can't learn that with just reading black and white directions, you know. So it has that great visual element. It's really well produced. Exciting to watch. There's music involved in it as well, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, for me to have a magician on to you know, to talk about you know, this is a field I know. I might not know about fantasy books and a lot of the other topics that authors come on to talk about, but I do know magic, and I know Learn Magic with Lyn is a pretty phenomenal resource for families. Just wonderful. You talk a little bit about helping you get over your shyness. That's something you and I have witnessed with a lot of kids. We recently were talking about a young magician that we both know, who we've watched grow up over the last probably half dozen years or so, from being someone who is just really, it was painful, he was so shy, to now being an incredible magician and an incredible young man.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I can't drive home that point enough, how empowering it is, and it's just incredible when you discover the world of magic, and it can help you in so many ways, even if a child doesn't go into magic professionally. Just in terms of getting through school. I mean, I didn't have hardly any friends in school. I hated going to school, but as soon as I found magic, my whole world changed. You know, school wasn't as intimidating, and I started to make friends, and I was doing the show and tell, and then starting out doing small shows, even doing shows in my neighborhood, walking around with a cardboard box of tricks that I had made, you know, knocking on my neighbors' doors, asking them if they wanted to see a show in their living room. So it taught me a lot of coping skills too, you know, to get through life with. And you know, the show must go on, and that's another element of learning magic too. If you make a mistake, you just keep going on, and that's something that's so important. Just to get through life, you just have to keep going. Yeah. And that's something that, you know, I'm really proud of. I'm trying to be a good role model out there for young girls aspiring to do something in a male-dominated field. So I take that very seriously, and I love it when I get emails from young girls who have purchased the DVD, and they tell me that they've done a trick for show and tell, and they were so happy and excited about it. It's a wonderful thing.
It is, and I want to talk about girls and magic a little bit more, but first, you know, that whole thing about the show must go on. One of my favorite questions that I get asked after a show, especially if it's in front of everybody, is, you know, if a kid stands up and asks, have you ever made a mistake while you're on stage? And I'll say, yeah, 3 or 4 today. You know, it's just helping kids understand that, yeah, nothing is ever perfect, and you just need to kind of learn how to go and deal with, you know, life as it unfolds and as it comes at you. What was it?
Absolutely.
You did mention that magic is a male-dominated world, and We hear a lot these days about STEM, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics being male-dominated fields, and how we need to inspire girls to get into those fields, and we're 100% behind that. And there are more women getting into magic nowadays, but when you were getting into magic, it was very, very rare for a woman to be the magician. There were a lot of women who were assistants, but there weren't many women who were the magicians. How did you break through that wall?
It's funny. When I started, Jed, I wasn't that aware at the time that it was quite rare to be a female magician. I just believed that it was this gift, and I put my blinders on, and I just focused and stayed true to myself. I didn't listen to any negativity out there. I just kept believing in myself and believed in my dream. I had a great support system, with my family and whatnot, but, I was self-taught. I didn't have any of the young, Society of Magicians clubs around here. Just did everything basically the hard way, but I just stayed incredibly focused. It wasn't until I became more professional that I realized that there were some obstacles to overcome, especially in the corporate world. I was being turned down for some gigs because I was a female illusionist. And even for a national TV commercial, they wanted me to play the part of the female assistant and then hire my male assistant to play the part of the male magician. So we didn't want to play that part, that was a little difficult to absorb at the time. But, this company said, well, we just know that more young boys buy magic than young girls. Well, because there aren't enough female role models out there, it is gradually changing, which is a fantastic thing. But, just starting out, I just kept my blinders on. And I didn't want to hide behind my gender, and use that as a gimmick either. I just wanted to stay true to myself, work really hard and feel like I was being treated equally. But fortunately, I haven't had that much resistance. I've had a tremendous amount of support in the magic community, which has been fabulous, and I really appreciate that. But all I can do is just keep on doing what I'm doing and try to make a good mark out there and be inspirational to these young girls.
Yeah. Well, if young girls or young guys want to be inspired by you, where can they go online to find out more about the magic of Lyn?
Oh, gosh, they can visit my website, which is magicoflyn.com, and Lyn only has one N, so it's magicof as in Frank, lyn.com, and you can watch some great video on the show, and also check out the historic elephant illusions that I've done. And if you click on Magic Shop, then you can check out the Learn Magic with Lyn DVD and also the Your Vote is Magic book as well.
Absolutely. Check it out, the magicoflyn.com. We've been talking today about Learn Magic with Lyn and her wonderful book, Your Vote Counts. Lyn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Jed. It was my pleasure.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Sean B. Robinson. You heard him earlier on the program telling us about his Aristana book series. This great middle grade series. He's come out with book 2, and he's here to tell us all about it. Don't miss it. Sean B. Robinson in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hey, if you've written a great children's book, you've probably just discovered that writing a great book is only part of the process. Yeah, once you write the book and it's published, now you got to market it. Now you got to get out there and tell the world all about it. And how are you going to do that? Well, you could go out and spend lots and lots of money on ads on Facebook or Amazon. You could get yourself on Kelly and Ryan or one of the morning shows like Good Morning America. But that's kind of tough. Hey, how about this? How about being a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast? Being a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast, it exposes your book to thousands and thousands and thousands of people. You get a chance to come on and speak to me about something that you are the number one expert in, your book. And you get to talk to thousands of people. In addition to the people who listen to you on the show, we promote the episode. And in promoting the episode, we're promoting your book to our 30,000 plus social media followers. And check this out. Being a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast, it's fun, it's easy, and it's absolutely free. That's right. Check it all out. Go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button. Let us know all about your great book. We will let you know the next steps, and they're really, really easy. Hey, we want to thank my buddy Lyn Dillies for being here today, and we want to remind you, if you're listening to this in the United States and it's Election Day, if Election Day hasn't passed you by, please make sure you get out and vote. And hey, we want to thank you too. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We understand how busy you are. You got the kids, you got your job, you got to find time to go out and vote. But you've been so loyal. You've been subscribing to the show. You've been telling your family and friends about it. You've been rating it, reviewing it on iTunes. We thank you so much for being part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. And also want to thank you for always taking the time to read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.